Welcome to the Color of Success podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Stephanie J. Wong. Many of us are feeling a wide range of emotions: sadness, anger, fear, sometimes hopelessness and helplessness. This season, we will be exploring all the feelings and ways to empower each other to take action. So, let's go. Game on. Today, we welcome Matthew Veland and Dyanna Volek to our show. Matthew Veland is a highly respected financial planner with Prudential Financial in the Washington D.C. area, distinguished by his deep commitment to empowering Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander AANHPI business owners and medical professionals. Beyond his professional expertise in financial planning, Matt is a leading advocate for the local Asian American business community, with a particular focus on the significant economic contributions of these enterprises. As the current president of the Filipino American Chamber of Commerce of Metro D.C., Matthew spearheads an organization dedicated to uplifting and empowering over 200 entrepreneurs and business owners across the DMV region. Under his leadership, the Chamber actively promotes economic development, fosters networking opportunities, and amplifies the voices of Filipino American businesses. Further demonstrating his dedication to community development, Matthew is also a co-founder and treasurer of FilExcellence, a nonprofit committed to fostering personal empowerment and professional development within the Filipino diaspora. Dyanna Volek is a proud Filipina American and native San Franciscan who blends civic service with cultural passion. By day, she navigates government affairs with over a decade of experience in public affairs, but her heart beats for community, culture, and connection. Outside the office, Dyanna is a champion of holistic wellness and vibrant living, spotlighting the local businesses that are the lifeblood of cities. All right. Well, if we can get started, Matt and Dyanna D, thank you so much for coming on the show. And I'm very, very excited to have this synergy, long time coming. So I'm wondering, let's start off with Matt. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you got involved in supporting the communities that you support and the advocacy that you do?
Yeah, so thanks for having me, Dr. Wong. Dee, good to see you as well. I'm mixed race, and growing up, I was around a lot of family, a lot of Filipinos. My dad's Caucasian family, very small, right? And growing up, I mean, it was always there, but getting involved, I saw friends in college getting involved with Filipino student organizations, culture nights, stuff like that. And I was in a totally different scene. But during the pandemic, I was settling into a new career and started to experience and see some of the stuff in our communities that wasn't great, and it kind of called me to action. And it's great because I'm able to make an impact in a community that I've always been a part of, but it also helps me in a way because my career is predicated on my interaction with the community, helping it grow, not just on the business owner side, but I mean, we work with other folks. So that's how I got into it, and it's been maybe 5 or 6 years now.
That's amazing. And Dee, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of on the business advocacy side, I've spent my career in public service. And when I was working as a legislative aide for the neighborhood that I grew up in San Francisco, I really realized that the small businesses are the heartbeat of our city and how much they bring to the culture and the community. And that just became ingrained in me. And I've always been a huge advocate for our commercial corridors and our business owners. And then on the Filipino advocacy side, growing up in San Francisco, it's a very diverse city, but in the schools that I grew up in, it was primarily like East Asian, Chinese, Japanese, very small subset of Filipinos, at least in the schools I went to. And it was only until college where I really started getting active in community groups and associations, and first helping out with recruitment and retention of Filipinos and learning more about the disparities within the Asian monolith, and really wanting to support representation within my own community. And that has blossomed into like political advocacy, fighting for more political representation, but also any type of representation in popular media. I'm always like a huge champion. Like if I see somebody on television, I'm like, oh, that person's Filipino. I tell everybody I'm super proud of it. So they've all become intertwined now, where I really want to champion Filipino businesses in my social media channels.
So all of us here are empathizers. We give so much back to our communities. And part of it is I wouldn't say that, we're completely altruistic, right? We're also getting something back from that. And burnout is real, like social media burnout, going out into communities, interacting with people. How do you cope with some of that burnout or make sure that it's not heading in that direction? And either one can jump in.
Yeah, it's a great question, especially with all of the studies, and I know you're very well versed on this in terms of how social media can be very isolating and how there's just so much going on in the larger world that weighs heavy. And so actually during the pandemic, I started to focus really on like my sphere of influence. And that's when I really like dive deep in my like local, hyper local community. So not just like trying to solve the world's problems, but like how can I just make sure that more people are coming out to commercial corridors in my neighborhood? How can I support elder Asians when they were being attacked in our
Yeah.
communities? And so really looking at our super local lens kind of helps deal with that burnout of trying to do too much and saving too many things because I work at an airport and the aviation analogy is
Yeah.
you got to put the mask on yourself before you can help others.
Similarly, because we on social media we see all the world's problems, we see everyone, vomiting their fake success in our face all day long. We only see highlight reels. So few people are
Mhm.
willing to kind of show the struggles along the way. And like Dee, what I do is I try to get out and do in-person events because we have so much opportunity with the internet and social media, but ultimately I think we evolved to be social creatures. And so getting out, touching grass, shaking hands, hanging out with people, grabbing a drink or a coffee or a meal, something like that, that helps me kind of rebuild that part of my life because I think everyone can get in a space where you go, how long has it been since I've been outside? Right? How long has
Mhm.
it been since I've seen another person? And making sure that we focus on that part of our lives is I think key to this whole wellness matrix, right? There's so many parts of it.
Yeah, and I'm still a firm believer AI can't replace that. I think, we can't be robotic about social interactions. So soft skills are important, and clearly you both have that, which I admire. What do you think are the biggest challenges for Filipino-owned businesses at this point in time, given the economic pressures and everything that's going on in the world right now?
The easiest answer really is change. In the past few years, we've seen a rise in anti-Asian hate crimes. We've seen attack on and label of everything as DEI. We've seen
Mhm.
generative AI come in and disrupt spaces. We've seen trade policy, tariffs. I mean, how much time do you have? I got stories on every single one of those. So I think the biggest struggle right now is change. And that's our event on September 20th here. We have a business summit in the DC area. And the theme of that summit is future forward. The whole intent of this event that we're doing is really to make sure that business owners not only survive during these challenging times, but they're able to thrive, right? Because so much is changing on us.
Mhm. I second that so much. I mean, when you look at the margins of what small businesses have to deal with, and I'm referencing this in a large city like San Francisco, where rent is so expensive and services are so expensive, and trying to find resources and people, hiring alone is so challenging, and having making sure that they have people who can support them. There's so much stacked up against business owners, and add all of this like international turmoil. It's such a small margin between success and failure. And with Filipino owned businesses, sometimes they're the first in their family to become an entrepreneur, or they have this really great idea, but they might not have the resources or the like generational wealth that some other communities have to kind of support and prop them up. So they don't have a safety net, and they really have to put their selves and their bottom line on the line to really support their dreams. So
And not to mention generational trauma. So one of my closest friends
yeah.
at work is Filipino, and we talk about it all the time. Like he schools me in, um, you know, the history and just the turmoil over there. So we're always like, where do we actually go? Can we leave
Yeah.
here? Because it's, there's all these pros and cons. But in your various spheres, and I guess this is why the synergy is here because we're on different coasts, but similar issues and things like that. What resources are available for entrepreneurs to kind of manage this emotional roller coaster and kind of deal with like the holistic health piece of managing a business?
I can say for San Francisco, I'm very well versed with the opportunities that are available here for entrepreneurs, but also entrepreneurs of color. Because my former boss, who she was a supervisor of the city, is now the head of the Office of Small Business, and so San Francisco really is trying to put a lot of resources into helping small businesses navigate permitting and the myriad ways that bureaucracy like tries to take them down. Like we try to have like counselors available to help navigate that process. But the mental health piece is really important. Like finding community and finding other people. We also have a Filipino American Chamber of Commerce, and I think those institutions are so helpful because you want to know that there are other people out there like you and are struggling through the same things, and you can learn from each other so you're not reinventing the wheel. So I'm proud to be a part of a city that is really trying to help our small businesses, but at the same time, as a democratic city, we have so many regulations, and navigating that just can be can be a huge challenge.
What's interesting, I think, about our area is that, San Francisco is inside California, right? And the way that the DC area or DMV area works is that you have people that live in Virginia, transit through DC every day, and work in Maryland every day. So my firm, I work out of an office in Maryland half the time. We have an office in Virginia. We live in Virginia, and we're in DC every weekend,
Yep.
right? So when it comes to resources, there's a division. It's there. It's just you got to be able to navigate which county you're in, which state you're in. Of course, DC proper has a great initiative, MOAPIA, the Mayor's Office on Asian Pacific Islander Americans. They do a lot to help a lot of businesses. They're trying to work to help preserve the Chinatown in DC here. But as far as dealing with the mental health piece of it, Asians, we don't talk about this stuff. You kidding me?
This is why we're here.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone you talk to this first generation, they're like, no, you just work hard. You're sad because you're not working enough, right?
Don't think about it.
Yeah, I don't think who has time to think about this kind of stuff, right? I mean, there's no depression in the Philippines, right? It's just
Yes.
But to
Yes.
second what Dee was saying, I mean, you just gotta get out there and see other people. I mean, I was at a dinner last night. We had an Ace Next Gen event at Amazon HQ2, and one of the other business owners there that I've seen many times, just casually during conversation, talked about some of the mental health struggles he's been facing as a business owner. So, if we don't have scheduled time to talk about it, know what the resources are around you in your jurisdictions, and again, just you gotta go to these organization meetings. It's helpful to get business from them. I think it's important just to talk to people, as Dee said, just to complain with other folks about, how things are going on. And the table I was at, we were doing this facilitated exercise. And after we kind of complained, I was like, all right, everyone, like, what's going right? What's one thing that's happening right for you in your business right now? And that way we got a little bit of mix of everything.
Can I add to that? So it's funny, when I lived in DC, I did an internship there and I lived in Chinatown. So that's where I was. And thinking of our own Chinatown in San Francisco, I've always been, as a Filipina, I admire how they have benevolent associations and that they support each other internally because through history, they weren't getting support from the government. They were actually getting oppressed. And so they relied on each other for community support to fund each other.
The
And
loans.
I wish we had more of that in the Filipino community. And I think organizations like that's what they're doing, is building these networks of support so we don't have to rely on, random government funding or other grant funding. So I think that is a key, is having our Filipino community support each other. Sometimes we have this crowd mentality of like, there's not enough to go around, so we're going to tear each other down to get to the top. And so I don't know if, Matt, in your community, if you see more collaboration as opposed to like competition, but we're trying to work on that in the city here.
we live in the wealthiest country in history, in world history. There's so much, and our people got to get a piece of it too, right? There's so much opportunity here. It's crazy. I mean, we have challenges, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, the fight is here. I want to help folks back in the Philippines. We work on that stuff, but I'm here. I try to help our people here, right? As far as this area, it's a lot of navigating, as I said, those jurisdictions, but I mean, there's more and more collaboration all the time, and you see some turnover, and that really, but what I really like is when folks get in on different sides of this, right? So it's nice when I can see a business owner, like, first of all, but it's also nice to see someone that steps into the space that you're stepping into, because we need to have people at every table, right? And so when I see people like you stepping in the space that you're in, I think it's really valuable. It's really impactful.
I went to the Philippines a few years back and I was like, it really gave me a sense, obviously I'm not overgeneralizing, but it really gave me a sense as to why my close friend at work really is so welcoming and just generous. I mean, just a brief story is that we had someone pick us up from the hotel because, it is so cheap. So it's like, why not? But his friend was there and I was like, oh, can we go with you? Because we really liked him. And, in the little tuk-tuk. And he was just like, no, it's my friend's turn. We take turns. And it was like, here it's like, no, I want to be your personal driver. Like, let's go. I'm going to take advantage of that. Like, it's just my piece of the pie. And so I think what you're really speaking to is continuing those cultural values of being very generous and like giving, and also like recognizing that people can spread the wealth, so to speak. So let's go back though to that conversation you had about mental health, like struggling and things like that. And I like how you brought it back to like what's one thing that's going well, because I think people can really wallow in like all the things that are going wrong. And Dee, you spoke to like really leaning on the sense of control that you can, your sphere of influence and control. What do you think are some good forums or things that we can build into the community to really start having those conversations and giving business owners resources for mental health?
So I'll acknowledge when I don't have a good answer. I don't know, because business owners have so much that they focus on. I don't even know how to start that conversation. I don't. I wish I did. I'll tell you this though. Any program out there, any event out there, any group out there that helps business owners get around each other, focus on what's going well, any resources, right? So we have a great partnership with National ACE. They did an Access to Capital series. We helped some of our business chamber members get access to loans and alternative financing they wouldn't have normally had access to. Anything we can do to help these business owners materially, there's a good chance it's going to help them with their mental health if the business is doing a little bit better. But I would defer to anyone that has ideas on how to have that conversation, because right now it's just those conversations, they just seep through the cracks, right? And focusing on and prioritizing having that conversation, I would welcome any effort to open up space for that.
I would add, I mean, your chambers of commerce are great starting points. That you have your larger citywide chamber, you have your national chamber, but then you also have these pockets of ethnic-based chamber groups, et cetera, where you can start by creating educational programs and letting people know, and then moving into technical skills. I mean, your point on funding, I mean, that is so hard for people to ask for money or get resources for their businesses. I think, at least for the business owners I know, it's like a constant struggle about getting investors. And so having those conversations, if they're not allowed in those spaces, finding people to get them into those spaces as well. So forums like yours, I think, is so important in your upcoming conversation. But also making sure that our political leaders are including our community leaders in those conversations as well, making sure we have a seat at the table. I think sometimes, you're so tunnel vision on your own business that you're like, I don't even have time to go to a community meeting or find out who my elected representative is, but they can provide resources and connect you to people. And sometimes you actually do have to go out and do that networking, but you just want to focus on your product and not get into all of this other stuff. But sometimes it's necessary.
The one thing that we are doing during this summit is we do have a mental health wellness break to break up. I think after one of the afternoon sessions, one of our board members is like certified wellness coaching in that space. And we're just taking 20 minutes in between sessions to just do some breath work, really just kind of recenter and refocus in a way that I think is important, especially during these summits, because I think a lot of people go to them and then they come out and think, oh my God, look at all these things I'm not doing, instead of what's one thing I can take away. And so I think having this mental health break, this, whatever, maybe there's some somatic stuff, maybe we're doing jumping jacks, I don't know, right? It all helps. But I think that's one thing that we're able to do during this summit, and it all helps.
I think that's super innovative because I've been to a lot of chamber events from different chambers. I've never seen any of them have a wellness part of their talks or conversations. It's always so technical. So major props to you for including that in your agenda.
Yeah, I was reading this book last year, 10x is easier than 2x. And I think it's Dan Sullivan, Benjamin Hardy. And they talk about how athletes spend like 95% of their time preparing and recovering and 5% executing. Whereas in the business or in sales or anything comparable, it's like you're executing 95% of the time and you don't take that time to recover. You don't take that time and what difference you could make if you spent the time preparing and recovering and resting intentionally, right, instead of reactively to accelerate your performance. It's something I think about a lot, and it also gives me license to chill. I'm like, no, this is recovery. This is active recovery. Like, I need a massage. I'm not going to be able to perform at work without a massage.
Yeah, and I thought about a couple strategies as you both were talking. I mean, one thing is really facilitating the conversation about asking for help. I think a lot of people, like you mentioned, asking for funding or that cultural barrier at times that hinders and keeps us stuck of like, hey, I need help because I feel like I'm bragging or I'm talking too much about myself. And really, like, do I need this as much as the next person? And it's like, well, everyone is able to share different pieces of the puzzle that could be great, but people don't know what they don't know. And so just no one can really help if we don't know what we're dealing with and people aren't verbalizing that. The other thing is really one of maybe the coaching aspects that could be helpful in the future is really talking about people's relationship with money. It is a very emotional topic. I work with a lot of my patients around that because I work with a lot of couples in private practice, and it's like those conversations don't really become completely transparent. It's very complicated. I mean, Matt, you're the expert on that, but it's like prenups, like back in the day, I would have been like, okay, that seems like rude. But then it's like prenups and postnups. You know what? I'm all for protecting women and their assets because now, we work and things like that. So really exploring that with folks, because what does success really mean to them? Is it a dollar amount, or is it like obviously having more freedom to spend with your kids, et cetera? And I think really having that clear value in mind as a guiding principle could be helpful as well.
Matt, I don't know, as a financial professional, I don't know if you're seeing it in the community or talking to people about wealth and money management and not just putting it into a savings account and all of that kind of stuff. I don't know, how have you seen it?
Yeah, so I mean, we work with folks all over the country. I work with a few folks out in the Bay, actually, and one of my clients, when we just started with relationship, very hesitant to do anything, right? Because I find that at least in our communities, in Filipino American communities, what I find is there's two types of people. They save it all. It's in a savings account. They save it all. And then the other type is they spend every single dime because they had no concept, or the parents had no concept of ever having anything beyond the next meal. And so just bring people in from those two extremes, I think, is really important. And this client, she had saved so much and she's killing herself at work. And I'm like, when was the last time you went on a vacation? And she's like, oh, I don't know. I work really hard. I work for the county. I can't. And I said, well, can you? do you have any leave? And she's like, oh yeah, I've got weeks and weeks and weeks of leave. And I was like, it sounds like you can take a vacation, right? And so, I mean, we still have a great relationship, and she's still a client. But the biggest thing that I think I helped her was not investing her assets, but was telling her go on a vacation. So now it's every time I see her, I'm like, well, where did you go? And she's trying to go to all the national parks. She's been to a few in Canada as well. So in some way, the wealth that I was able to grow for her was not a dollar amount. It was really about
Experiences.
the experience, the peace of mind. I was the first person to ever tell her, hey, I've seen your balance sheet. You're going to be okay. You're on track for retirement. You need to give yourself a permission slip to go on vacation.
Oh my God. I mean, that just raises so many things for me, like the scarcity mentality of being in, a lot of our family members are immigrants from another country, and just always not knowing where their next meal might be. Like my grandfather in the Philippines was like a high-ranking electrical engineer, and then when he came here, he was washing dishes until he became an electrician. And my grandmother was a homemaker. She didn't have an education, so she raised the kids. So there's just a lot of like holding on to all of their material possessions, not trusting the government, not trusting banks, and just having this mentality of just let me just work as hard as possible and hope nothing bad happens. And and they lose out on, they didn't invest in real estate, they didn't invest in the stock market, and they just made it harder for themselves. So really it is this education piece. It's getting past that scarcity mentality. It's allowing them to see that success isn't just like the number in your bank account. To your point, Matt, it's about peace of mind and happiness and rest. So it's just all of that. And I saw this meme on Instagram. I don't know if it's true. I have to look into the statistics, but they showed the top 10 ethnicities in terms of income earners in the United States. And I was shocked to see the second was Filipino Americans. Number one was Indian Americans.
Indian, yeah.
And, they say in the comments it's because of healthcare, and that's the kind of jobs that we have chosen. But I was shocked because if you talk to any of my family members, they're just scraping by, and, in terms of wealth, they're not spreading it throughout the community or acting like they have stuff to share. It's always like, oh, we're scared, we're going to lose it all. And yet we're the second top earning ethnicity in the country.
We didn't even touch upon the gambling epidemic that's in multiple communities, not just Filipino communities.
Never been easier. It has never been easier. It's crazy. And we have fully functioning computers in our hands 8 hours a day, at least, right? And it's so easy, and you see it in so many ways. Sometimes it's, going to the casino, or, DraftKings, you're betting on sports games. But sometimes it's, I mean, I've seen even mania in collectibles. So, I mean, I have friends, colleagues, clients that are collecting different type of
Here we go.
Labubus.
I didn't spend my last rent check though on this.
There you go. See, right. It's a balance. And if it has an inherent value, it's okay. But I'm seeing people that are blowing through hundreds of dollars. It's just like lottery tickets. They're ripping Pokemon packs. They're buying Labubus, all this kind of collector mania.
Yes.
And not to open up another can of worms, but there's this creator on Instagram, and I really respect her work, Kyla. And she talked about how the American dream is not nearly as accessible as it used to be. Home ownership rates are plummeting among Gen Z and millennials. The average age of the first-time home buyer is now, I think, like 38 or something like that. And she was saying that further enabling a lot of the gambling is this idea that some part of America feels like the American dream's gone, and they still need some kind of economic win. They need to take their power back. And so they're buying these collectibles that appreciate in value as a way of saying, hey, I can go win at something. So to touch on the gambling that you mentioned, I think it's only getting easier and easier, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, there's Cache Creek locally. They have these shuttles that take a lot of folks, and many are senior citizens in our community, just being like, I don't have anything to do. And I mean, don't want to veer too much from businesses, but like, I think that's part of the mental health too, of like, we're in a sandwich generation, and we really have to look out for our elders, because many of us feel responsible financially for them. And so that's another level of planning that isn't really talked about very much.
No.
Sandwich generation. I had someone that brought it up, and I'm like, I ask people when we start working, like, what does wealthy mean to you? and because a lot of people think it's a dollar amount, but think about sandwich generation. I mean, my wife and I have a 3-year-old. I'm actively trying to move the parents in. I'm not, most Americans are trying to get away from their in-laws. I'm like, please come live with us. Brother, sister, parents, like, please come live with us, because having that family around to help raise the kids, I think, is a type of wealth that isn't tied necessarily to your net worth. So, I'm trying to move the family in.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to add too, and connected to small business owners, a lot of times business owners invest in their business and they forget to invest in themselves. And so you've been working in this business for so long and you never even invested in your retirement plan because it wasn't required of you. And now businesses don't even do pensions anymore. I work for the city, and so we still have that in pension, but most businesses are working under 401ks, which just was created in the 80s. And people don't realize if you don't contribute to it, you're not going to have anything when you retire. And so we're finally coming to that generation where they started working in the 80s, they're retiring and they realize they have no money to do that. And so they have to work longer. They're aging faster. Our medical system is in shambles. And so as a business owner, I think you have to remember you have to take care of yourself. Remember that there's a future. You're going to break your back on your own business, but you need to make sure there's a cushion at the end when you end up retiring.
Yeah, to tie it back to mental health, I mean, the erosion of that social safety net that a lot of Americans grew up with in the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s, it just keeps disappearing. And more the burden falls on individual people. And so I think it's a great point that until that social safety net comes back, if it ever does, we got to do everything we can to help people prepare for the future. And if the government's not going to do it, we got to do it. Someone's got to do it, right? So we need to accelerate, build, and expand even the local, regional networks to rebuild those, because the safety net's disappearing, right? My grandpa had a pension. My dad does not, and I don't, you know what I mean? It's gone.
I mean, Dee and I are fortunate to be in positions of that, but who knows, like when we're actually retiring, if they might take it away. So there's like that. So I think it feeds into the point of like, even if you think you have a safety net, make sure that you're having a diversity of pots of money when you retire. Again, I always used to joke, I want to retire by 40, but now I'm 40. And so I'm like, that's not happening. But
I don't believe you. Show me your ID. You're not 40. just a bit for the podcast. Sure. Okay. Yeah.
It's definitely, that's why I think sandwich generation is so important in terms of business planning, is like people are so worried about college. And first of all, I'm like, is college really going to be a thing? I don't know. And so planning for these different things as business owners in terms of educational plans and stuff is very important. But coming back to like the fun stuff, like how do you think we can support Filipino-owned businesses throughout, like whether it be through social media or dollars, etc.?
Dee, I know I saw you doing a little bit of that yourself, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, I've been using my very small platforms to promote whenever I can. Like when I see Filipino business owners in a wide variety of industries, like I just want to go in and hype them up as much as possible. Like I feel no crowd mentality. It's like I feel like we should all just prop each other up, talk about it to our friends and family. Like if there's a party, you're gonna go to that Filipino restaurant and help cater it or spread the word around that. Or if you need a tax agent or a CPA or life insurance or whatever, like those people in your community and you promote them and you support them and you tell about them. Like Matt was saying earlier, like we have so much access now to information, but also getting the word out. I know social media is such a challenge and it's detrimental to mental health on the one end, but on the other, like how have we ever been able to see so many representations of different people, from singers to performers to business owners? Like I find out about things through social media that the mainstream news media isn't going to tell me about. And so I want to use that platform, even LinkedIn. Like people are using LinkedIn as a social network now. It's not just business. Like that's how they're promoting things on it. So that's how I've used my small sphere of influence to promote Filipino businesses.
Yeah, I have a list. If I have an opportunity, if I need to do something, if I got someone in the chamber, they get first dibs, right?
Mm.
We have a ton of realtors in our chamber, and it's like, whenever anyone goes to buy a house, it's like there's 4 or 5 of them to choose from, right? But I wanted to highlight maybe 2 things that I think have gone really well. One of them is here in DC. So our chamber has had a great partnership with PNA, the Philippine Nursing Association, the local chapter of Metro DC, and they piloted this initiative called the AANHPI initiative. They had, I think, 1,000 nurses come into the DMV area and matriculate into different hospitals. And the initiative was, hey, you're going to need to buy a car at some point in time. Hey, you're going to need to understand how your workplace benefits. You're going to need to understand grocery stores here, right? I mean, it's all this kind of stuff as anyone would have to come understand when they immigrate to another country. Here's how to make sure you don't get taken advantage of when you're negotiating salary, right? So that partnership has gone really well. I presented a financial wellness thing and also a group benefits thing, because a lot of them came into the same hospital system. So I have clients in that system. So I said, this is exactly how your benefits work. We did something on how to buy a car, right? So that's been a really great initiative that not only helps kababayan coming into the country, but also the business owners here. We can all grow together, right? And the second thing that I wanted to highlight was something I would love to emulate here in DC. So in Vegas, they have a couple different Filipino chapters, chambers of commerce, and they did a partnership with Astoria. I don't know if you follow them. They tell Filipino stories through food. So they did this Filipino American Food Week, and they did like a Philam restaurant crawl, right? Where they highlighted all these restaurants, they put out all this content, and you got a prize if you finish the crawl, right? So there are some exciting things happening out there. And one of the other organizations I'm a part of, FilExcellence, one of our mottos is from resilience to empowerment. We want to get from a place where we're just surviving to a place where we're thriving. That's really the goal, and I'm seeing a lot of really exciting things happening.
That's amazing. And I think people can really take this model for various communities. And so I would love to just highlight you both as well, because I think we've been talking a lot about resources, but where can people connect with you that you're comfortable with? Because some people add me on LinkedIn. I'm like, bro, I don't know you. Or are you a bot? But where can people find you and connect with you?
So they can add me on LinkedIn. I actually, as long as they don't seem to, like, they don't have anything on their profile, I'll usually add, because you never know when those connections will happen. Or on Instagram, my handle is Dyanna Luna, DyannaLuna. But that has been my main aspect of promoting businesses in the city.
I don't mind if folks add me on Instagram either, or LinkedIn. So you can find me on LinkedIn, and then my Instagram is @MGVeland, so MGVELAND. We also have a QR code here for our business summit for those of you that are based in the area or thinking about really looking to grow your business during these uncertain times. It's September 20th. It's here in McLean, which is in the Northern Virginia part of the DMV area.
Thank you both for being here. And I imagine this is a lifelong friendship that we're going to build. So I really appreciate you taking the time, and you both are amazing. I so admire you.
Thank you so much for having us. It's been a lifelong dream of mine to be on your podcast.
I'm excited that I can make it happen.
But for spreading the word about mental health in communities and supporting communities of color. So it's been an honor. And Matt, it's been an honor to meet you. Now we have cross-coastal connection, and maybe we can bring Future Forward to the Bay. You never know. Yeah. We can partner with the Filipino Chamber over here. So yeah.
Thanks. So Dee, it was great to hear about some of the work that you're doing. I think Filipinos across the world are doing amazing things, and so to hear what you're doing in the halls of government, helping folks out from that side, very, very inspiring, really, right? Because we're all trying to make a difference. And Dr. Wong, thanks for facilitating the conversation, for having me. I had a good time.
I am very connected with the community and the people in it. And I think it's really special that I was able to have both of you on. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us. That's great.
All right.
Thank you for listening. We would love for you to subscribe to the podcast and join our community on all our socials at colorsuccesspodcast.com. Looking forward to you checking out my memoir, Cancel the Filter, Realities of a Psychologist, Podcaster, and Working Mother of Color, on Amazon and wherever books are sold. I'd love to hear your Cancel the Filter moments.
Well, I can give 'em more, 'cause when I'm on the field, you know it's game on.